Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Roughing the Competition. My name is Brant, and this is Trevor. And today we're going to be looking at the Big 12 and its conference outlook.
Yeah, this outlook is going to be part of a six-part series that we're going to be releasing, where we're going to break down each of the Power 5 conferences and give you kind of an outlook of how the season's going to play out. Now, by doing this, we're going to list basically the rankings of where we think these teams will slot out at the end of the year, and kind of explain quickly why we have them there and why we have them finishing the way that we do. Now, to kick this off, as we said, we're going to kick it out with the Big 12 Conference here. And right away, looking at our rankings here for the season, we'll start with 7 through 10 because there's not much difference between us. And looking at it right away, the only difference I'm really seeing here record-wise is Kansas. Brant, you got Kansas winning 2 games, which, in case most folks don't know, Kansas has already won 2 games this year. Why is that?
I just don't think that they're going to have any chance in any of these Big 12 games. With losing to Nicholls State at the beginning of the season, I understand it's the first game of the season, upsets happen.
Yeah.
I just don't see them competing with anybody here in the Big 12.
I understand that feeling. I'm a little more optimistic on Kansas, but let's face it, for these bottom 4, if they get wins, they're getting it off of each other for the most part. Now, with that in mind, we're just going to go ahead and quickly move past 7 through 10. No point spending a lot of time on them. We're going to look here at 5 and 6. Now, Brant, you have TCU and Oklahoma State at 5 and 6. Why do you have them there?
I don't see much of a difference between those two teams at the moment. I have TCU beating Oklahoma State in the season.
Yeah.
And they're both 5 and 4, but Oklahoma State does have that one extra win for non-conference because TCU had that really nice close game with Ohio State. That game was really close.
It really was.
Until about the fourth quarter, and then Ohio State kind of flexed their muscles a little bit on them.
Yeah.
But there's not much of a difference. I guess the big difference I see between these two teams is Oklahoma State doesn't have that senior leadership like they had in the past before with Mason Rudolph and
James Washington.
Yeah. So that's my big difference between the 5 and 6. What about Texas and TCU for you?
Yeah, I pretty much have TCU in the same slot as you. I mean, yeah, they're one rank higher on your end, but I got them same record across the board. This TCU team's decent. They're not great. They're going to be better next year as they get more experience. But let's look at Texas because we have Texas pretty much the same, but I got them with one more loss than you. And I think that one loss is going to be interesting for Texas because I think that loss comes at Iowa State. And I think it's another sign of Texas just isn't there yet. They have a good coach. Tom Herman's going to lead them. They're going to turn it around. They're going to be in that elite class in a year or two, but they're going to stumble. And we saw them stumble with Maryland. We saw them pick it up with USC. But I think we're going to see them stumble again later in the season. I think Iowa State's going to cost them. And Iowa State's that tricky team. They get close. They got close to Oklahoma a few weeks ago. They got Oklahoma ran away from them. I think they get Texas. I think that's their win this year. Now, with that said, you pretty much got Texas in the same spot. Just one more win. I'm guessing you have them picking up that Iowa State game.
They have picking up the Iowa State game, and I have them winning the Red River rivalry against Oklahoma.
Really?
Yes.
That's a big one.
It doesn't matter what record they have. Oklahoma could be 11-0, and Texas can be
1-10,
1-10, and come in and win that game. That's just records are thrown out the window at that point for that game. I just think that Texas is talented enough at this point, with Herman at coach and Ellinger at quarterback,
absolutely,
that they can go in there with an upset.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that happening too. I have an interesting upset later on in my board too. Now, looking at this on my end at 4, I have Oklahoma here, and this is going to be a surprise to everyone. I think Oklahoma's a good team. Just going to throw that out there. But Kyler Murray is not Baker Mayfield. He's played well. He can run the ball. He can throw the ball. He can do it all. He's not great. And I think it's going to show later in the season. While they've started out hot and they're 4-0 and they look good, I think the 3 teams above them, I'll give them hell. They play Tech here in a few weeks. Tech is averaging 620 yards of offense right now. Now, that won't hold up, but that's still potent, and it's going to put a hurt on that Oklahoma defense. Now, with that said, I think they get an upset there, and then they have to go into Bedlam the following week, which you mentioned the Red River rivalry. That is a game, it doesn't matter the record, that's a competition. Same thing in Bedlam. But Oklahoma State always gets short end of the stick, and I don't think that happens here. I think Oklahoma falls to them. And then I think their third loss is picked up right at the end of the year. I think West Virginia wants to win this conference. what better way to do it than to have the privilege of shoving Oklahoma out of that title game? Now, with that said, let's look at the top three here, okay? Because this is where it all matters. On your end, I see you got Texas Tech there at 3, but you have Oklahoma's same conference record. What's going on there?
I have Oklahoma, of course, losing to Texas, and
Yeah.
then also Oklahoma losing at the end of the year to WVU. And
Gotcha.
that's where that 7-2 comes from. Texas Tech, however, I have them losing to both Oklahoma and WVU.
Yeah.
Now, Texas Tech is, like you said, potent on offense. There's
Mhm.
no questioning that. My question is I think that West Virginia defense is a little bit better than what people give them credit for.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
definitely looked good here early on.
I know it's early, but with 304 yards a game in the Big 12 for defense, that's pretty good.
Oh, that's pretty darn good, actually.
And that's why I have them there. And also, 9-3 is a good season.
Yeah.
You can't discredit Texas Tech.
Oh, absolutely not.
And I do think that they're going to give Oklahoma and West Virginia both fits. I just think that those two teams are just a little bit better than them.
Yeah.
As far as Oklahoma's 2 losses, I mean, like I said, Texas rivalry game, you kind of just throw
Yeah,
records
you
out
just
the
roll the
window.
dice, yeah.
And with WU, I just think their senior leadership kind of overpowers them.
Absolutely. On my end, looking at my top 3, I mean, right away I got Oklahoma State. The only separation between them and Oklahoma, guess what? They win Bedlam. I mean, that's enough to propel them just above Oklahoma, the tiebreaker. Other than that, I got them dropping to Texas Tech, which we've already seen that one, and West Virginia. Now, in that as well, I mean, Tech and West Virginia beating them. There's another loss in there somewhere. I don't know if it's TCU at the end of the year. I don't know if it's Texas during the year, Iowa State. Someone's going to clip them. Still 9-3, 6-3 for a team that just changed over that offense. That's still a darn good record. Nothing to be ashamed of. Now, Tech and West Virginia, notice both of them are 8-1. Now, based on what we've learned so far up the board, you got it. West Virginia beats Tech this week. I mean, it's just going to happen. They're more senior led. They're going to win this game. Because as the board out there says, which Brent hijacked from me, fear the Greer. He's a Heisman candidate. He's going to continue that run. But with that said, while I think West Virginia wins there, they are going to trip up at Texas. Holgerson's good. He's a darn good coach. He is not a national title coach. He is going to cost this team a game, and it's going to be sad because they are more talented than 90% of college football on offense. He will cost them a game, and I believe it will be Texas, a game that he should win. Now, with that said, though, they're still going to get to the Big 12 title game. They're going to run into Tech one more time. It's going to be a heck of a shootout. They're going to beat Tech. And, I mean, that's where I'm at on that. I think they get there and they whoop up on Tech. So I got them 11-1 to close out the season. Where you got them at?
I haven't finished at 12-0.
12-0?
12-0 or 11-0.
Well, no, they'll pick up
12-0.
Yeah,
sorry.
that was conference.
Okay, sorry, that game.
That
last
canceled
week,
game,
That
yeah.
canceled game kind of messing with me. But for WV to beat Oklahoma 2 times in a row is going to be very difficult.
Absolutely.
Oklahoma is a very talented team, but I am going to lean on that senior leadership.
Yeah.
And Will Greer in that receiving core to score enough points to be able to keep ahead of Kyler Murray and Oklahoma. I just don't think Oklahoma has the defense to be able to keep West Virginia under 40.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I truly think that. Which, if you got them 12-0, I mean, surely that's going to be good enough to get them into the playoff. Which is where I want to end my last point here. Because the best part of this conference outlook is we're going to get a feel not only of how we think these conferences are going to finish, but how this bowl season and playoff picture is going to line up for us. And with that said, I do have West Virginia winning this conference. I do not think they get into the playoff. Now, that's hard for me to say because I'm rooting for them. An 11-1 conference champ, big wins over Oklahoma, Texas Tech, taking care of your non-conference schedule. That's going to be key. But we'll see with these future outlooks. I think there's a few conferences that are going to have just a better representative for what the committee wants. Now, I know that bothers my fellow commentator here because as his board says, fear the Greer this week. But I just don't think it's quite going to be enough. Now, it's the beauty of this, as I said, with this outlook, and we're going to continue this series. Now, what we'd like from you folks is, in the comments, give us a feed on which conference you want us to look at next. We're going to try and look at 2 or 3 next week and then wrap up the week after. But we'd really like to hear who you want next. You want the Pac-12, the ACC, Big Ten? Do you want us to take a look at the mid-majors and the UCFs of the world out there? No, that's all I have for this week. But Brant, how would you like to wrap this up?
Follow us on Twitter, please. We need followers. We need that following. We really love doing this every week. We want to keep continuing doing this. So at Roughing the Comp, and on Facebook, Roughing the Competition. And I guess that's about it. The only thing I gotta say is, like he said, fear the Greer.